The group known as Abandon Harris has officially endorsed the Jill Stein campaign. So this is a tweet from the official Jill Stein campaign account. Let's put this up on the screen now. It says that the leading anti-genocide coalition, Abandon Harris, has just endorsed our campaign. This is an amazing moment for our growing movement. We are honored to have at Abandon Biden, because it used to be Abandon Biden before Harris became the nominee. Support, join our fight to end endless war. Now you can see there's a little picture inside of that tweet that I know is a little hard to read, so we're going to blow that up. We're going to put that up on the screen next. This is a direct quote from the Abandon Harris campaign. It says, "We are not choosing between a greater evil and a lesser evil. We are confronting two destructive forces, one currently overseeing a genocide and another equally committed to continuing it. Both are determined to see it through. We call on Muslim Americans and all those who stand firmly against genocide to vote for the Green Party in 2024. The path to justice is long, painful, and difficult, but it is ours to pave and follow." So I first came across this on the Hill, so let's put this back up here on the screen. This is from their article. It says that the quote, Abandon Harris group pushing for voters to protest Vice President Harris over the conflict in Gaza is endorsing the Green Party's Jill Stein in the presidential race. The group, formerly known as Abandon Biden, is calling on Muslim Americans and others frustrated with Biden administration's handling of the Israel-Hamas war to cast their ballots for the long shot third party bid. First, let me just address something that's in this article that I have a major problem with. One, calling it, the conflict in Gaza. It is definitively a genocide. The ICJ has come out and say that. Many scholars have come out and say that. There is almost no debating anymore the fact that it's not a conflict. I mean, and also calling it the Israel-Hamas war. We are seeing language here from not just the Hill, but from many outlets that is just whitewashing. It's kind of just like downplaying what's going on over there. In all the time that this has been going on over the last year, have you ever seen any video footage whatsoever of a back and forth exchange between, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, and Hamas? Have you ever seen it? I haven't. All I've seen is just nothing but civilians and refugees constantly being indiscriminately bombed in every way, shape, or form. If this was truly a war with Hamas, why do we never see any kind of combat between these two forces? We just don't see it. And I'm not saying that Hamas isn't present in Gaza. We know that they are. But this is less of a battle and more of an annihilation. So it kind of always grosses me out the way that we see these mainstream media articles address what's happening over there as if it's somehow some kind of equal, battle going on between Hamas and Israel. It is not. But further going into this Hill article, saying here that, quote, our movement remains dedicated to ensuring that the American people, especially the Muslim American community, recognize the responsibility we share in standing up against oppression and using all of our power to stop genocide wherever it may arise. On the precipice of the election, we endorsed Jill Stein, the group said in a release. Down further in this article, it said that Trump has the edge over Harris among Arab Americans, which I have to say, that is both incredibly shocking and also not shocking at all to hear that. This is according to recent data from the Arab American Institute, and the vice president faces growing signs that the demographic is souring on her in critical battlegrounds. Look, let's just be honest here. Jill Stein is not really polling anywhere in America above like 2%. It's going to be a tall task for her to get to the coveted 5% benchmark, which is the mark that every minor party wants to get to so you can get matching funds, you can make sure you're on the debate stage, you're taken more seriously as a major party in America. And if she's lucky, she'll be able to get to that 5% threshold mark, although it will be challenging given how much of the vote Kamala Harris is going to take, how much Donald Trump's going to be taking, and then what's left over for the remaining candidates on these ballots, including like Claudia de la Cruz, Cornel West, Chase Oliver, the ballots that RF Kennedy Jr. are still on. It's going to be tight. It's going to be really hard to see Jill Stein eke out a 5%. But while I believe that, while I don't think that she's going to win a single state in this, in this election or even come close to it for that matter, I do think that building up the Green Party is important. I really do. And that's even saying like I don't really there are plenty of things about Jill Stein that, I find to be a little apprehensive that have me questioning, some of her morals, some of her motives. But nevertheless, I do think that the presence of a strong or at least competitive third party in America is absolutely necessary. I really do believe that. And again, it kind of underscores the importance of ranked choice voting, that we think we need that in America. I'm glad that states already have that. Maine, Alaska, several cities. I think so many more places need ranked choice voting. I think we absolutely need it. And I think that a lot more people will be willing to vote for third parties until we, like once we have ranked choice voting. But until then, a lot of people are really skeptical of being the spoiler. But I have to say, there is a really strategic way of going about this. We've talked about this before, but voting for a Green Party candidate in a red state is very safe, and I think the strategic right thing to do. If you live in a state like I live in Montana, or if you live in Idaho, North Dakota, Mississippi, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, if you live in one of those states, it's a solid red state, and you are a left-leaning voter. You are going to vote for Kamala Harris. That is a symbolic vote in that state. She's never going to win those states. She has no chance of winning those states. Like, so in those scenarios, your vote is actually way more valuable going to the Green Party than it ever was going to the Democrats in a solid red state. If you live in Arkansas, there is almost no point to vote for Kamala Harris, but there is a lot of value for voting for the Green Party to help them get to that 5% threshold, throughout the entire popular vote. So again, I think that is something worth investing in, depending on what states you live in. In that scenario, we can help the Green Party out without worrying about actually tipping the election to a Donald Trump. Also, last thing I want to say about all this is that the notion that I keep hearing um, in this article, not only, but in everywhere in general, that Jill Stein is stealing votes from Kamala Harris. I have to say, I think is just a terrible messaging at the end of the day. If you talk to people who do vote for Jill Stein, so many of them, I would say I would go out on a limb and say that absolutely a super majority of them would just not vote at all if Jill Stein wasn't on the ballot. Would some of them vote for Kamala Harris? Sure. But I think that most of these people, faced with a choice of Kamala Harris or Donald Trump and Jill Stein wasn't on the ballot, they probably just wouldn't vote for the presidential line. And so, again, I think it's just really important to hammer home the fact that, Jill Stein, I don't know that stealing votes is appropriate at the end of the day. I think what's really happening here is that she's just giving options to people who were considering not voting at all. Because as we said in our previous videos, the largest voter bloc in America is the non-voter. So I do think that having more choices is definitely going to lead to higher voter participation. I just think it's a terrible messaging campaign that we're saying that Jill Stein is stealing votes from Kamala Harris. But if you like this video, please go ahead and give us a like, subscribe to the channel for more videos in the future, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching this video of Independent Thought. If you liked the conversation, please go ahead and give the video itself a like, and be sure to subscribe for future episodes on the channel.